Kevin, Canty, and Michelle.
The Cowboys have given a 4-year deal to coordinator Brian Schottenheimer to be the 10th coach in franchise history.
Jerry Jones sounded awfully excited. Brian Schottenheimer is somebody that he knows, is comfortable with, believes in.
They can get Dak Prescott back to playing at that level like he did in 2023 under Mike McCarthy, then the Cowboys might be back in that playoff chase.
We approached Super Bowl 59 between the Chiefs and the Eagles. If you missed any of our conversation about the 2 conference championship games from yesterday, go back on the app, wherever you get your podcast, ESPN app, and listen back to the first 45 minutes of the show. So, and we're going to dive obviously back into that as the show progresses here. This is so odd to even ask. Did the Cowboys try to news dump us?
Yes.
They tried to hide their head coaching hire on Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern of Brian Schottenheimer Smalls. The Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones tried to hide that?
We all know it's a media trick. If you want some news to get out there, but you don't want it to get the platform that it normally gets, you do it on a Friday early evening, maybe like 4 or 5 p.m. That's what we call the Friday news dump, because most of the people like us aren't going to be talking until Monday. And so when we got word on Friday that that's when the Dallas Cowboys hired Brian Schottenheimer, I thought, oh, wow, they really want to diminish this, because Jerry, you normally would think, would wait until maybe in the middle of one of the games yesterday to announce something like this, or have it get out, or maybe even this morning, take a little shine away from the championship weekend that he wasn't a part of, where 2 teams in his division were a part of. I was very surprised that he didn't take the opportunity to have this news get out in a time that would be more advantageous to what he loves, which is the attention.
Well, he doesn't want to embarrass himself any more than he did with the hire. This is an embarrassment. This in no way, shape, or form moves your program forward. This doesn't put you closer to a championship at all. And this, to me, just confirms what Troy Aikman said a few weeks back when Jerry Jones was vacillating over the Mike McCarthy of it all and saying it doesn't feel like the Dallas Cowboys have a plan. Mm-hmm. They didn't. They got caught flat-foot. And you guys thought that Jerry Jones had somebody in mind that he wanted to turn to if it wasn't Mike McCarthy. And hiring somebody that was culpable for the ineptitude that we saw this season from the get, it just shows me that Jerry Jones is one of the most impetuous owners in the NFL when it comes to his football operation. And he uses the Dallas Cowboys as his plaything in order to try to chase after credit that eluded him 30 years ago. It gives the delusion of Al Davis with the Raiders back in the day. And if the Cowboys aren't careful, they're going to find themselves in that type of futility. That's what it's going to be. Mm. Al Davis and the Las Vegas Raiders, or Oakland Raiders, once upon a time, they were a proud franchise. They won 3 championships back in the 70s and early 80s. And then all of a sudden, after losing Super Bowl 37, the franchise hadn't won a playoff game since. And it's because the owner / general manager at the time, Al Davis, kept putting his fingerprints on the team, kept meddling in ways that an owner shouldn't, wouldn't let football people take care of football business. And now the Las Vegas Raiders are irrelevant when it comes to championship football conversations. That's what the Dallas Cowboys are falling into right now.
Mm. I could not believe this was real. And that's not to say that Brian Schottenheimer can't be good. I just can't believe that this is where they ended up. And the quote that Adam Schefter put out there from Jerry Jones is maybe one of the worst quotes I've ever seen for an introduction of a head coach. Quote, Brian Schottenheimer is known as a career assistant, Jones said. He ain't Brian no more. He is now known as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Not good.
Okay. Who is he? He's not Brian. He's head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I was wrong. I thought they had somebody in their back pocket the entire time, which is why they dragged on the Mike McCarthy stuff. I was dead wrong. Dead wrong about that. I'll be the first to admit it. This is unbelievable. What this tells me is very clear, not breaking news. Jerry Jones is the coach of the team, wants to be considered the coach of the team, wants to be the general manager of the team. And I can't believe that this is the all-in move. Remember? All in?
Yeah, but that's just lip service. That wasn't.
We can't even believe that at this point.
We didn't believe it then either. We didn't believe it then.
But he tries to grab headlines. This is not even grabbing headlines.
No, but it's more about being able to hire a coach on his terms. And when I say his terms, we're talking about the length of contract, but also a coach that was going to be amenable to the amount of influence that Jerry had on what was happening with the football team. How you're going to build the culture, what you're going to do from an X's and O's standpoint, what guys, and that's the part that is so maddening to me. For such a big brand, for such a successful business, Jerry Jones's football operations is laughable. How are you going to attract the best and the brightest minds when you got a coach on a short leash like Jerry does? You undermine Mike McCarthy being able to replace Dan Quinn in the defensive staff last year by allowing Mike McCarthy to be a lame duck coach. What assistant coach around the NFL wants to come sign up and coach for Mike McCarthy knowing that he could be gone in a year? Nobody.
Right.
It's the same situation with Brian Schottenheimer. You got a shorter term deal than all of the other candidates that are going to be hired this cycle. Do you know what that's going to do to the pool of assistant coaches that Brian Schottenheimer has to draw on? It's going to limit it. So again, this in no way, shape, or form helps your football team move forward. And for a team that's paying a quarterback $60 million a year and a wide receiver $34 million a year and a soon-to-be pass rusher $30-something million a year, you're supposed to be competing for championships now. Nobody around the NFL thinks Brian Schottenheimer is going to lead the Dallas Cowboys to a championship in 2025. And if we don't believe it, I'm pretty sure the guys in the locker room don't believe it either. Mm-hmm. So it's got to be maddening if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan sitting here today, knowing that Jerry Jones is hiring this guy just so Jerry Jones can have more influence than the owner typically would.
The Dallas Cowboys are the most dysfunctional franchise in the NFL. Their peers in that conversation have actually made positive moves. Let's go through some of them. The Carolina Panthers were in the mix. David Tepper hires Dave Canales, gets out of the way, finally, gives him the space to be the coach he needs, and look what happened.
Yeah.
The Carolina Panthers have turned things around a little bit. We feel much better about Bryce Young now than we did at this time last year.
No doubt.
Okay, check for them. The New York Jets hired Aaron Glenn. Great hire for them. A guy who has equity in this franchise. A guy who's going to come in and be a leader of men. They got out of their own way. The Chicago Bears, dysfunctional? You betcha. They went out and got the guy that their franchise quarterback wanted and a guy who was the hottest coordinator in the NFL on the offensive side of the ball. They got somebody that could directly impact their most important player in a positive way. Check for them. What did the Dallas Cowboys do? The same old thing. But here's the difference. Those other dysfunctional franchises that I talked about, they're focused on a different three-letter word than the Dallas Cowboys. They're focused on WIN, and Dallas is focused on EGO, ego, because that's all Jerry Jones cares about is his ego. When we heard the clip from Adam Schefter coming in, and he said that Jerry went this route because he knows Brian Schottenheimer, he's comfortable with him, that's the exact route that they should not take. They should be getting as uncomfortable as possible, because if you're telling me that Mike McCarthy, who has won a Super Bowl and was 49-35, and the regular season with you is not good enough, you need to shake things up. And he can't do that because it's at the expense of his ego.
Is there any chance that Brian Schottenheimer is good?
I mean, I guess
we're all wrong?
I guess there's a chance, but is Brian Schottenheimer going to be better than Pete Carroll would have been? Is he going to be better than Mike McCarthy was?
Probably not.
Jump to that conclusion.
No, I mean there are so many more qualified candidates than Brian Schottenheimer that were out here, and you decided to go in